And welcome to the Rules and Public Policy meeting for today, December 27th, 2022. The only item on our agenda this evening is the 2023 budget. So I will go ahead and turn that discussion over to Ms. Dukestein.
Thank you very much. You guys can start in on your questions. Did you have an opportunity to review?
So I have a couple questions. I noticed in the version of the budget that we were given at the last council meeting, I believe we were instructed to use this version and not any of the previous versions, but I guess I have a question about in the police department budget, I noticed there is a line that is no longer there. It is about 3/4 of the way down. Actually, there's two lines that did not get transferred over. The line is, it's after membership and dues. The line that's missing is 101.101.524051, ammunition. And the other one is, the other line that's moved, there, that has been removed is office supplies, which is 101.101.524.101. And can someone help me understand who the professional services are for this particular, in the police budget portion?
The line item that is hidden is ammunition because it is now under 101, 101, 521, 251. There were two lines. And the one that was hidden that you don't see is a zero balance.
But I mean, there are other lines with zero balance and they're not hidden. That's why I was just curious why those were hidden.
That one was hidden because Ryan Tran had let me know that he uses the 521, 251.
Which one does he use?
The 101, 101, 521, 251. That's the one where the budget is.
Do you happen to know who the, who falls under the umbrella of professional services for the police? It's line item 101.101.523400. It's budgeted at $16,000. Yeah, that furnace stinks. You need to change that furnace filter.
Ms. Zorb, can you repeat that line number?
I sure can. It is 101.101.5234000. And the description says professional services.
And that would be for their cleaning services there at the police station. I believe that's Janet King.
Is that the same person that cleans this building?
No, ma'am.
That's what I thought, we had two people at that salary. Because there's one for this building and one for that building.
Yeah, they're contracted services, they're not employees.
Right. But we have one person for this building and one person for that building.
Correct.
And before that, we only had one person for this building at a fraction of the cost. Well, that was before your time, though. That's okay.
So my next question is a point of clarification. So when I look at the recreation numbers,
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can we stay in the Department 101 for just a moment, Ms. Sword?
absolutely, yep.
Okay. In this 101, 523, 510, equipment repair and maintenance. In the years past, 2000, according to, well, let me get on this page, never mind. Find my number again. So it's gone up. The budget we were given before, the one that we have to vote on, it had our year-to-date as $637 in that 523, 510 line item. We budgeted 2,000 for it, and we only used the 600 and something. And now we're going to put 4,000 in there. What equipment and repair is that referring to?
I have to get on the internet. I was gonna pull up CMI, but let me go get the password.
Okay.
Is this?
Did you just change it? She's going to look at that board.
I don't know why my thing won't turn. Here we go.
Mr. Knows.
So, well, let's put a pause there.
Why is the
Are there any
phone
other
smell so strong? Did it get turned off and turned on?
It was off, yes. So when it was turned off, I
Oh.
mean, in other words, the temperature was down, so we don't just blow a bunch of hot air in here when nobody's here.
It's really strong, okay.
I wonder if we can look at having that furnace filter cleaned. Maybe that would help.
Usually if we have some kind
I
of-
do
we
miss
did our-
Tuesday.
Some of them are throwaways, hardly depends.
But just in lieu of time, because she texted me to let me know that she's only going to be here for 2 hours today because she's having family stuff. So is there any other questions that we can kind of pause there while she gets the login that we can kind of go over while she's doing that? We'll come back just in lieu of time. Oh, here she comes.
It's having trouble. Sorry.
Is it the internet
It is, and then I have to log in
to the CM?
again as well.
Right.
Haven't-
Just let us know when you're ready. Are there any other questions that can be kind of focused on? Any more in that department?
I have more in that department, but I'll just wait until she gets it together there and has
Excuse
she'll
me
have it
for a
all
minute.
on
Hey,
the same page.
Ron, are you able to lower her microphone a little bit? People on the video said they can't hear Kirsten talking. Thank you.
It will not, it won't let me log in from here.
Okay, so some of the other questions that I have is on the copier maintenance. That is for the police department copier, I'm assuming. And is that a lease or,
Yes, that's a lease. In other words, there's a lease for that.
so we lease that one as well?
If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Mosby, or even Mayor may be able to answer this, we moved all of the printers over to a lease, right? Throughout the city?
Well, they've always been a lease, but
The
last
printing
year-
program, I think, right?
Yeah, we had some very old printers. We just got newer ones and just put them on a lease, and that was one that we had from last year. Currently, that lease is over a year old now.
Okay.
So maybe I can help. What was your question again, Mr. Wall?
It was the copier, if it was a lease or not.
Oh, okay, I'm
And then
sorry.
the other one that we haven't had an answer for yet is the equipment and repair, 523510 for the police department. It was, we only used $637, and we put in $2,000 last year, but now we want to double that for $4,000.
I believe that was just simply basically a readjustment of some of the numbers, because the overall total is gonna be the same, but the equipment repair and maintenance, I believe, is to just some of the, it's not capital, repair, so this would be, just some of the smaller equipment, I'm sorry, some of the smaller equipment, or, including some, although there's a line here that says vehicle repair and maintenance, for $15,000. Some of the equipment and repair and maintenance may also go toward the vehicles, but basically what that is are just the other devices, basically, and equipment that they have around the building.
Okay, so I noticed the vehicle maintenance. Now, we're replacing 2 more cruisers or 3?
No, so this past year, we started the lease on 2 cruisers. We, to your delight, of course, paid off those 2.
Right.
We have ordered 2 more for 2023, but have not yet started the payments on those.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
That's all I have for that department.
Okay. She said that's all she has for that department. Anyone have any other questions for police? If
For
not,
what? Oh, for police, I'm sorry.
okay.
If this is just with regard to the equipment repair and maintenance, is that right? That's for the copier machine? No, copier maintenance. My question is, does that include the lease payment?
For the copier,
Yeah, copier maintenance.
what is the, let me just.
It's 101.101.523801.
Yes.
Okay, because I just,
Yes.
okay, if it includes the lease, so we're just paying for the lease, we're not
Well, we have to
actually
pay for the
paying-
lease, and then we also have to pay for, when they pay for, when their cartridges run out, they have to pay for that.
Oh, okay.
That's what
Just
it means.
for the supplies.
Right, and then we also budget, if there is a breakdown, we have to have somebody come out to provide maintenance for it. That would be included in there as well.
But if it's a lease, don't they do that?
Depending on like a regular service, it may not, but if there's a special situation, we've had a couple of situations where we've had some jam-ups in the larger one here, and we've actually had, that was beyond basically the regular maintenance provided in the lease. So there are times that could happen.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. What's the next department you guys have questions for?
I have one for the service department.
Okay.
201 department.
Yep.
I know I should find this reflected somewhere in the new budget, but I can't seem to put my finger on it. It's probably recreation somewhere. Car show supplies, we haven't put money in there since 2021.
That would be in recreation.
Okay.
And so there are no questions for fire, correct?
Let me, but since Mr. Wall brought up service, I do want to bring up one thing, just so that people are aware. So in the past, we have a gas tax, obviously, and that money is used to provide for the wages for our public works people and, the normal operations to provide and maintain the streets. However, I can say that while we've had some good news, we just got some news today that we've received $1 million grant for the for the replacement and repair of Galbraith Road, west of Hamilton Avenue. But there are other items that will need maintenance during 2023, and I can tell you that for sure. Many of you probably remember, of course, the car that ran into the gun shop. There was destruction to the curb. That curb is going to need to be replaced. So monies that you see that are in there, some of those monies are going to be used for those purposes. And those projects are probably going to be you're probably going to see some contracts that are going to be definitely over $50,000. So I think that, council should be prepared for that. There's another project that I was just talking to them about earlier, which is the situation on Belmar where the stormwater line that runs under a private property has kind of collapsed underneath. So that's going to have to be rerouted. I had talked to our engineers about that. That may actually have to be done next year as well, and that's probably going to be a pretty significant amount. So I just wanted council to just be aware that both the street levy fund and the street fund are probably going to be used for those purposes next year.
Mr. Mosby, can I ask a follow-up question to that? I'm curious about the curb repair at the accident at the gun shop. Certainly, we get reimbursed for that.
I mean, I'm saying it because it wasn't just that particular thing. There's about 100, if I remember correctly, it's like 113 feet of curb repair that actually has to be replaced, pretty much along the whole line that building. So basically between Galbraith Road and all the way down to the end. And some of that has been there for a little while. I mean, it hasn't, it had not been fixed. There was something else that had happened some time ago, which is the reason that they began to put the poles up in the first place. But that curb is absolutely going to need to be repaired.
And that just out of curiosity, it depends. We wouldn't necessarily get that reimbursed. I mean, if he was fleeing and he may or may not have had insurance, we don't necessarily get reimbursed for that.
Well,
right?
correct. I mean, our insurance doesn't, I had this experience earlier this year on Carpenter. We had a stormwater break, and so we had to repair that. Our insurance doesn't cover infrastructure in that sense.
I wouldn't think that. I had a similar circumstance in the city with my dad, but okay, to service department. Did you answer your question for the service?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Recreation.
I have a question about recreation.
I do too.
Oh, do you want to go first? Doesn't
Sure.
matter to me.
So I was summing up all the lines that appeared to have the word splash pad in them. And I found 122,000, 152, 250, 150,000. So if I add them, is the splash pad going to cost us $424,000?
The splash pad itself will not, but the whole repair of the estimate for the entire renovation of the park will. So that would include the current infrastructure that's going on right now, including the widening of the parking lot, the laying of the ground, the ground for the splash pad. There's the installation of the splash pad. There's going to have to be the fencing that would be put up, as well as money set aside for as far as money set aside for a restroom in there as well. So there's a lot that's associated with it.
Do we have any rough estimate of what it costs to maintain that annually? Like water, electric?
Employment.
I mean, we can give estimates, but
That's
I mean,
what I'm asking for.
we don't have exact amounts. I think with the wages, I guess, basically, depending on how many hours it's open, if we're paying for somebody to be in there, you're probably looking at, if it's only during the summertime, I don't know, anywhere about $5,000 perhaps, just to, have somebody man that. Maintaining the the restroom facilities and the pad itself is going to be obviously the water cost, and then just maintaining it to keep it clean. That's probably another. I think when I estimated it, I put in 30,000 total for maintenance in there before. So just to give you an idea.
Madam Chair, I do know that in the last conversation or meeting I had with Ms. Clear, she did look into some of those, and I thought that she did present it some time ago at community or the recreation meeting. Maybe it was just to hers, but I thought she had told me she was presenting that night here. Yeah, I thought so. So she does have some of that information.
And she's also, to piggyback on that, looking for different programs that will help fund
Yeah.
and curve the cost for us. So I think she did come up with a rough estimate, which I don't remember. I'll look back in my documents and see if I can forward that on to you all. But she was definitely looking for resources and grant monies to kind of curve those costs for us. So even at the rough estimate, she's very hopeful that we'll get some programs to kind of help with that best case scenario.
Yes, and that is part of the conversation that she and I had as well, that she was looking for different ways of funding.
She gives a recreation report at each meeting for recreation, city community development recreation. So I can re-forward those to everybody. But I
Thank you.
don't specifically remember a detailed report about the splash pad.
Yeah,
But
there's no
can-
need to
I don't know
re-forward
which
that to
meeting it was
me
in, that's why I
unless
was
you.
gonna look, but I definitely do remember one. Maybe, that's why I don't know which meeting it was in, but I'll look through my documents to see if there's anything that I can forward on.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I have a follow-up to the car show supplies. I did find it in recreation. Now I remember why I highlighted it, because we budgeted 4,000 for 2022, and in 2023, we don't have anything budgeted at all. And that's in the recreation department.
There is money that is budgeted for it. It may have been in a different line item, but I know that we didn't take any money out per se.
I did have I'm sorry. I did have a conversation with Ms. Clear about that today, and I apologize, it's in here, but I cannot remember where she told me it was.
I'll
But
send
she-
her an email
But
if
she
that's
did
okay.
say that it was in the budget, just not in that line item.
Okay, thank
I,
you.
sorry, I know too, just from the post from recreation on Facebook, I know that they're gonna have a hard time having the car show if we can't really have volunteers. So I don't know I'm wondering if maybe she put the money for it into a different line item, so that way it's easier to reappropriate the money if for some reason there can't be a car show due to lack of volunteers or lack of interest. So that's what my speculation would be, just from her post and from conversations with her at the recreation meetings.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I? So I did want to give a little bit of background, just so that council is not, so that they're informed about the $4,000. So several years ago, of course, we had a volunteer who was running the car show. The city wasn't doing it. What the city was doing was basically advancing this particular individual money in order to purchase things like awards and other items that would be associated with the car show itself. But the money was basically given to that particular individual, and then he was the one that would use it, and then, of course, he would return it after the car show was over. I simply say that because, as Ms. Anderson just said, the city, I wouldn't want to give anyone the impression that the city is running the car show. That would need to be a volunteer that would do that. And so the $4,000 that is said that is talked about here is not $4,000 that the city would use to put on the car show. It would simply be money that would be given if there is an individual or a group that would be willing to step up to volunteer to put the car show on.
And Madam Chair, to answer the question, I believe it was Ms. DeWall. Ms. Clear says it's in supplies and material.
Thank you.
Mayor Nichols, did she text that?
She did.
Okay. If she could tell us, what
She's
she's
watching, so.
Okay. Can she, if she could email about the splash park in the estimation of costs to run it, just as a follow-up, when she gets a chance. I don't think it's.
Well, she had mentioned that she did, and I believe Ms. Anderson also said it, that she had given packets to everyone, and that was
Yeah.
included in that
She
packet.
So I was gonna
says, she mentioned
forward
in the
that.
first budget meeting, she believes that, and everybody should have a detailed packet from November explaining all recreation expense line items. So she's still-
Okay, so I will re-forward that document from November to you all.
Sorry, was that from budget you said, or from?
Yes.
It was, yeah.
The first
Okay,
budget
so
meeting.
I don't, okay, I was just making sure, I was like,
So
I swear I did not have that. Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember she said it.
Thank you, Ms. Clear. Anyone else so I guess we're Code Enforcement, Department 401, 402, and 449, in Community Environment, any questions there? Okay. Department 500, which is basically utility service, information technology.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. I had a question about building 402, right after the code enforcement.
Okay.
We have supplies and material there for $7,300. What are we supplying? Because if I understand it right, Bill Knight works from home?
Well, no, he works here in the office. I mean, he has his hours here, but he does work,
At
do
home
some work right at home. But the supplies and materials are basically, especially for mailings that have to go out, primarily, because obviously unfortunately, we have a large amount of
Violations.
yeah, well, and rentals as well. That was the whole point. So, so we needed to make sure that we have enough in there in order to send those letters out. That is the primary bulk of that.
Okay.
And that's completely understandable. I do have another question under 449 Department. Operating expenses. Oh, I mean, there's not much in this department at all, but we have operating expenses of $6,513.
Well, basically, we do, you're correct. I mean, that department basically is the department where we try to make sure that we do some community work. I think when we put that aside, we put, I'm sorry. Oh, right, okay. So, and thank you, because I almost did forget. I apologize. So part of that amount is for the street art contract that we're
sure.
going to do. So that's why you see that in there. I almost did, thank you.
But that you were saying, I don't want you to lose sight of what you were saying.
Well, no,
also.
the other part was just things that are related to the community. In this past year, for example, we were doing work with the trees and things like that. So if we keep that up, that's part of what is included in that as well.
Okay. So that brings us to 600, which is information technology.
Can I make one clarification? I'm sorry. All right. So I do want to be very clear. When I talk about trees, I would be more talking about tree planting as opposed to tree removal. Tree removal is more from our street fund. Generally, those are trees that have died, have been, hit by lightning, brought down by storms and things like that. Those trees that have to be removed that are in the right of way are that we use the street fund to remove those trees.
Okay. And so we're at 600, information technology, 701.
Oh, can I back us up for a second? Back up to the 500, the basic utility service. I guess I'm a little confused about the telephones, because I thought we changed our phone service out 2 different times, but I thought it was, we had voice over IP phones now. So that would fall into our internet service, we don't have voice over IP phones?
We do have voice over IP. It doesn't necessarily, the two aren't necessarily directly connected. I mean, in other words, our source for our internet is not necessarily the source for the phones. So,
If it's, okay.
So
So you're saying we have a different internet provider for
Correct.
our phones than we do?
no, I'm saying we have the internet provider for the city is different from the phone provider who we have our phone service with. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that still isn't making sense to me, but I'm gonna take it for what it is.
That is it. I can't
Well, I
put
mean,
it any
if
other
it's
way.
voice over IP, then it's
They're
data.
using internet, but they're using internet that we are getting from another company.
Okay.
So that brings us to 701. Mayor and mayor and administration. It's on my phone, so it's like, but we're in 701. Any questions on 701? 702, 703, mayor's court, finance,
Slow down,
Wait a
slow
minute.
down, slow down.
702, I had questions.
okay,
Yeah.
legislation.
At one point in time, we had $5,000 on line item 101-702-523-400. And that was to set money aside in case we needed outside legal. And then it got reduced to $3,000. And then in 2022, there was an additional amount put in there so that it equaled $23,060. Now, in 2023, it's absolutely blank. And I don't remember anyone from council saying, take that money out.
Okay.
It's
Are
The
you
council
referring,
chamber
okay,
improvements.
702?
yeah, 523400?
Yes.
Okay, so last year, there was money set aside for that for
The renovation.
council chamber improvements, but of course, that didn't happen.
Right, but
Right.
the council never did say we're not going to renovate. We were told that a bigger project was a possibility, which I don't think council completely agreed on that either.
Okay.
So if we still had the desire to do any kind of remodeling here, I think that money should still be in that account. I think
Well-
we should- Because it's also including the lawyer fee that we voted on a while back.
Right, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Since there wasn't any specific, there wasn't clear direction on what was going to happen. It was intentionally left blank because, as you just said, council can decide, and then they can amend they can amend the budget to, add that in there if they see fit.
What if we wanted to amend it right now?
You can do that.
I would like to do that.
To what, though? We haven't agreed to anything. So we can,
We didn't agree to the 23,000 that was in there before, but it was in there. I mean, if council wants to do something with this room, now is the time to put money in that line item.
you can put money in there throughout any of 2023.
You're right, absolutely right. And that goes for every single line item in here. But if we put it in there now, then we know we will have the money when we need it. If we don't put it in there now, it may get used for something else.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that for any line item. I mean, there's no point in having a budget if we can make it, as we go. I think what she's saying is we want to make sure that it's laid out and that we plan accordingly. I mean, there's no point in having a budget if we just say that for every line item, that we could change it throughout the year.
But I guess my point is not that we can change it. We don't have a plan. So what do we put in there if we don't actually have a plan?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we did have a plan in the works at the time. Several of us had taken a quick trip around the building, but then we kind of got the stop sign saying, oh, no, we're going to do something bigger and better. That never happened.
It's not that it hasn't happened.
Please?
It's not that it hasn't happened.
What hasn't happened? I think I lost you now.
You said we were trying to do something bigger and better, and it hasn't happened. We haven't done the renovations or this or that, or continue that conversation. We put that on a backlog on the agenda for budget
Right,
and finance.
because of our status.
Not because of our status, because of we're needing to focus on 2023 budget.
Okay, that brings us back to square one. That's what we're doing, focusing on the budget. What's being lost in this shuffle also is that $3,000 that was legislated into that line item for outside legal services. And now it's gone.
I mean,
So I don't know why we just can't put all that money right back in there. I don't know what the argument is.
Which line item? I'm sorry, for
It's 101.702.523400.
I'm talking, I see that one, but Ms. Dewald said the outside legislation,
It was all lumped into the same
And,
bucket.
so the wording was changed. Is that what we're saying?
It's professional services, so
Okay.
the professional
Meaning
services
professional
was the,
service, whatever.
yes.
Right, the $18,000 was the addition. Sure.
But if you look at you mean the whole entire dollar amount, it's wrong, gone. Is that
Yes.
what
I'm
we're
looking at the
saying?
wrong budget.
There was
And
an
it
additional
probably should
18.
So
even
the
be more than,
$5,000
it
is,
should even be more than the 23,000, to be honest.
so, but we have to keep
Mine
in
has a
mind,
number in there,
I-
so I must be looking at the wrong.
that's
Yeah,
fine, whatever you decide.
Moment.
Wrong thing.
But there has to be another decision made if you try to go outside of the scope of this room, in that room. I heard that you wanted to
Okay.
back it up.
So, I'm sorry.
That's,
Mr. Wood has a question.
I do have a question. So, of course, I didn't realize it until just this moment. When you said your line was blank, and clearly your line is blank, my line is not blank. Is the line supposed to be blank, or is the line supposed to say 20,000?
the last version that we received, the line is blank.
Oh, okay, well,
You want me to forward it to you real quick?
So the version that we were told to use is this one that we got in
this
council.
one? The
Yes,
staple?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
I'm not resistant putting anything in there. If you want to put something in there, I guess I just feel like we didn't have a clear direction on what to put forward. So putting something in there feels like, what are we putting it in there for? Because even even if we go with the last set of renovations before the bigger, better bang theory came, we still were outside of the $18,000 because it had gotten bigger than that. So at what point, and the point of, if you're doing past a certain amount, the estimate for the building renovations that we had talked about for council chambers, based on the last, when we were only doing council chambers, was $300,000. So that is why it kind of evolved to, if we're gonna put that kind of money only into council chambers, we should do something bigger for the building. Because whatever we do, this $18,000 was really only to replace the office equipment. Like literally do nothing to the room, maybe paint on the walls and these desks and stuff.
Madam
So,
Chair.
yes,
I think that you might be misspoken, because when we came back here for the tour, we talked about moving walls and replacing the furniture, and we never, ever put a number in there of what we thought the estimated cost would be, because we're not professionals. And then we were told by Mr. Mosby that they put the $18,000 in there. So he didn't get an estimate either, he just kind of did it as a placeholder.
what he
So,
got,
but the $3,000, if, there should be no argument over that. That $3,000 at least should still be in that line. I don't see why we can't go ahead and put in that $18,000 as a placeholder for any kind of renovation, because we never, I'm going to use the word poo-pooed, we never poo-pooed the idea of not renovating the chambers. We got
Agreed.
stopped because of bigger and better ideas, which doesn't look like it's coming to fruition for any kind of length of time here either.
Well, we're still looking. We're still trying
if
to.
you wanna put it in there, put it in there. It is what it is. It's not, it's, the renovations are not gonna happen, I guess, what I'm trying to say is so, but I guess what the deviance for me is the plans for what we're calling bigger and better have not ceased. It's just that it needed to get some more development to be able to bring other things to the table. The problem we have at putting an amount in there is if we do actually go with renovations for the entire building, because there was the emails that you sent about were we supposed to demolish the building, and, you know, the research behind that, the estimation of what it is going to cost, and, you know, all the feasibility studies, getting the finances in order. So if we're just to renovate these chambers, that would actually be coming out of this liquid cash. If we renovate the entire building, that would look like bonds, and we would not want to take away liquid cash, especially in the tune of $25,000, $18,000, $300,000, when we would want to include that in the entire renovations. But I am fine to put it over there. It's still being developed. So if that is what makes this budget a healthier, sturdy budget, we can put it in there, and then as we continue to discover or whatever, we'll address that then. I mean,
It's added.
okay,
It's added, so.
so no argument there, I guess.
21.
21.
And where did it come from? Or was it just added from the surplus?
Correct.
Correct,
The second thing was correct? That it was added
I'm
from the
sorry.
surplus?
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Would that include the legal as well that Ms. Dewall was talking about?
Mhm.
Okay.
You said 21,000
Yes, ma'am.
So
Is this
what'd you
a-
put in there?
in Excel that you sent me. Can you refresh so it'll pop in?
What amount did you put in there?
Okay.
That's not a shared document,
Miss Vanderburg?
though.
21.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'm just asking. Can you say it through the mic so that they can hear?
The dollar amount you put in.
I put in 21,000, 18,000 for the renovation and 3,000 for the other professional services.
I was referring to the one you shared with me.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I have a question, just, because that was kind of I kind of started that whole thing, but I just had a thought. So, did we ever like talk to, what do you call them? The dudes that build things, like a carpenter?
Engineer, architect?
Carpenter, just a carpenter.
Okay.
Like, they build bookshelves, they build desks. Do we just talk to a carpenter just to build us a desk? Can we do that?
We could.
Okay, I feel like a carpenter could do that, right? Just
Yep.
say, hey, this is what we want, it's gotta fit right here, this is what we want it to look like, right?
Yep.
Okay, we were talking about it, so, just, all right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
it also just dawned on me too, a lot of times when they do update desks or whatnot, they will add electric in the vicinity near the floor or of the desk, multiple outlets.
Yes. So that estimate of $18,000 that Mr. Mosby originally did, he may not have shared it abroad, but he did share it with me in a meeting between he and I for the finance committee chair. He said that estimate was based on updated desks that included, like, for us to plug up our laptops and mics and other, like, niceties to make this a more liquid.
More compatible workstation.
Yes. So that $18,000 is not just a random number. It is actually estimated on things that he thought that we would need.
Okay.
And then we kind of said, oh, okay, we can do a little bit more. If we're gonna renovate, let's do that. And so that's kind of how it was going back and forth. So that's what the $18,000 is based on. And we can keep it. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Madam Chair, I have one more question in that section.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call it the gold version versus the white version. Again, there's another line that's missing. And this one does have a dollar amount. So on the gold version that we started this conversation with a month ago, line item 101.702.523408. It's called the County Health Department, which is, I don't know, I need some further explanation on what that is and why it's under legislative. But it's, the dollar amount that was originally budgeted was $7,600. And that did not show up in the very latest version, in the white paper.
You still under Department 702, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The last four digits is 408, she said.
Yes.
53. I'm sorry, 52334. Yes.
It's not on the final copy I have.
No, that's what she's saying.
That's my point.
She's saying that also the dollar amount dropped out. So I only have this copy in front of me currently. Kirsten, do you know what that was and why it was eliminated or hidden or whatever? Was it hidden? Is the legislative total for 136,000 different? So was that line hidden or was it taken out?
Actually,
It was hidden, that line was hidden I would have to go back and see what exactly is in that bucket for the county health department. For some odd reason, I can't even connect to the VPN, so I can't even see it right now in CMI.
Are the totals different?
yes,
So what's the previous total on the yellow one?
156,375.
156. So that's a difference of $20,000.
Yes, but there's other lines that have different different amount,
Quantities.
different dollars amounts in them.
And so you're wondering why that line dropped off as though we don't need the services. So you're saying it's hidden, which means it's still there and it's still in the totals, but the amounts have changed?
From both of my sheets, the dollar amounts are the same.
So that line is actually hidden?
It is hidden. County Health Department.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
what dollar amount are you showing in your report there?
Who are you asking?
Kirsten?
Which column would you like to know?
The last one,
Under the proposed,
Yes.
I have 157,000.
$157?
Under legislative?
Oh, I was doing the entire total. I thought you were
Oh.
asking for the total.
For line item 523408.
I do not have it in the budget for 2023.
That's what I was asking. And you said it was hidden.
That line was hidden.
Right. So if the line was hidden, was the amount taken out?
Yes, I would have to go back through, because, you know, Mr. Mosby and I went through the entire budget, and those were things that he felt maybe should or should not be in there this year. So I would have to circle back with him.
Okay, I think that's what she
Ma'am?
was asking. She was saying that it was not reflected in this 2023 budget, and she wanted to know what happened there.
May I?
Yep, I will have to ask, circle back and ask why there's not
An amount there.
an amount there.
So in the history that I have, in 2021, there was $7,305, and for the year 2022, $7,451. So I don't know why we didn't have anything in 2020.
Okay, let's come back to that one. Mr. Mosey stepped out. He didn't leave, did he? He left?
I believe he had an appointment.
Okay. Well, can you draft him an email on that, Miss?
I will.
Okay, you will do it? Can you copy Ms. Zorb? And, well, just copy everyone.
I will.
Thank you. All righty. Any more in the legal, or I'm sorry, legislative? 702. For the sake of time, before we get into another, like, heated conversation or just, you know, riveted conversation about the budget, let's close out this meeting. And I'm gonna pass it back over to Ms. Underwood, and so we can start our next one.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so it is 7:27, and I am now adjourning the Rules and Public Policy meeting. Do we need to take a couple of minute break, or can we just kind of plug on ahead? Okay. Here,
I can keep plugging.
okay. I haven't heard anything, so let's just plug on ahead. Is that okay? We're good? Okay, so, now,
Actually, we can't
we
start
can't
early.
we can't start the meeting early, so
Not
we have
start
to,
early.
yeah, we have to wait for a couple of minutes.
Okay, you guys want to take a recess and go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
If needed?
I have a question. Do I need to be here for the public safety? Are you guys still talking about the budget?
Yep.
We're still talking about the budget. Because we also need to talk about the fact that it is December 27th.
We need to set up our next meeting. Actually,
We have to do,
can we address that very first?
yes,
Because if we have it, we need 24 hours, so if we wanted to do one like for tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we could do it if we do it right away at the beginning of the next meeting.
8 a.m. Oh, no, 8
8 PM,
Duh.
24 hours, not 12.
I won't be here tomorrow.
To what?
I can't be here tomorrow already.
8 PM.
While we're waiting to start our next meeting, I have a question. If I'm going to print out, this is super random, if I'm going to print out an Excel spreadsheet, I feel like Ms. Dewald might know the same thing. And I want to make sure that my freezed cells are in every sheet. Do you know how to do that?
Your freezed cells.
Cells.
safety meeting to order. The one thing that we have on our public safety agenda is the 2023 budget. But before we jump into that, it is December 27th, and we need to make some decisions before December 31st, hopefully not on December 31st. So when will we be meeting again? Ladies, I like to say that.
Tomorrow night looks good for me. Like I said, I'm available New Year's Eve also. Just saying.
I mean, I am too, honestly. I got nothing going on.
Wow.
Lames.
Wow.
The oldest and the youngest on council.
I'm sorry. I am absolutely lame.
Me too. I have nothing going on. Just wanted to.
My daughter's afraid of fire.
100%.
Mine is too.
All right, so what days can we make? So how many people can make it on the 28th, tomorrow?
Sure.
I can.
I'm not gonna make
I
it
can make
whenever.
it.
What time?
But you, even if somebody can't make it, you guys can still, we can still go
Right,
forward.
we can still-
We have to, because we gotta get
Yes.
this, we gotta get this done.
So if we had a meeting tomorrow, looking at that clock, it has to be 24-hour notice. And I believe Ms. Clear, I hope she is still watching.
7:34.
So we could set it for tomorrow at 8 PM. And that's still,
7:45.
You can,
well, by the time we do
Make a
everything we
decision.
need to do it, we might want to give us ourselves a little window, because it has to be posted with 24 hours notice. So
Okay, what are
if
we doing
Ms. Clear-
exactly? Is this,
didn't
is
somebody
this,
already write it up?
well, okay. Are we having just a budget and finance meeting, or are we having a council meeting?
No, I'm going to say a council meeting.
Okay, council meeting. So we need, how many people there? We need 6 people there, right?
We
Well,
can,
we
I
only
don't,
need 4 votes, but if we all agree to suspend, then.
You
we
need 6.
6. Okay, so how many people can be there tomorrow at 8?
she can't.
Okay.
I'm the only one that
Who cannot be there tomorrow? Are you the only one?
Raise your guilty hand. I can be here.
I don't know if I
Alright.
can or not, because I don't know if my son has a game tomorrow. So I would,
Yeah.
so if in lieu of it being a council meeting, I was gonna say you could go forward without me, but being that we need 6 and she can't, that would, if he has a game, that puts me out for sure.
Right.
So let's do.
How can you
another
find
day.
out?
Let me see. I get the emails.
Oh, I do too. We're from Brandon Howard.
Ms. Clear is still watching.
Yeah.
Good to know.
he hasn't asked
I
me to
haven't
work.
said, he hasn't said anything this week. He hadn't put out his proverbial email.
I thought he put it out before we left. He sends one to staff as well, so.
He usually asks me to work the games. So he hasn't asked.
Don't they have to schedule that before, like, the day before? How do
Yeah,
they-
but
how do they
sometimes
play?
they change, it'll be an update. They'll add a game.
I mean, because the other team had to have to
Yeah.
be there too, the last minute.
1, 2,
But you
3,
constantly have to check, 'cause
4.
even with my daughter playing
We got
soccer,
4 days to pass the budget.
and all of a sudden,
4 days.
you don't know it.
We haven't looked at this cleanup thing either.
Yeah. It would be a mess.
That's horrible.
So
Okay,
then
so what do
tomorrow-
we decide? Yes, no?
Well, if we, since we haven't looked up the cleanup thing, we need to have another meeting. So we will have to have a meeting tomorrow, and that you can do without me.
Are you
But-
planning to
But a
suspend?
council meeting, we would have to set up, so we probably need to set up both, just so we'll meet
So-
all of our times.
So what are, okay, or what are we meeting for? To
Okay,
continue going
well,
over the budget or
okay.
the cleanup?
We need to do both.
Okay, well, here's the thing.
So let's do 8 o'clock. Oh,
Well, no, wait a minute, wait. So this is the cleanup budget, okay?
Right now.
So let's, this thing you emailed to us today? Ms.
Yes, ma'am.
Vandenberg? Okay, so, I mean, we do have to look at it and, probably, I'm sure there are some questions, but really, just, let's be honest with ourselves. What can we absolutely do about this?
Nothing.
Because I ask this question at the beginning of every single year, like, what can we do about this? If we
Nothing.
don't pass it, we are in trouble, right?
I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to save a meeting.
You trying to not pass the budget or the
No,
cleanup?
I'm talking about the cleanup ordinance.
There's nothing we can do. You're 100% right.
Okay, I'm not trying to, to
you're
the
making good
viewers
logic.
out there, I'm not trying to give carte blanche to, to have this, but we have
Meeting
it.
about a meeting.
Right. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't want to have a meeting and, we're talking about it and we're like, hey,
And at the end of the
know.
meeting, it's just like, okay, it is what it is.
right, because we,
Is,
You can ask questions, but it's not,
It's not gonna
that's
change
what,
anything
that's what
because-
balances the books.
right, because that's what balances the
and
books.
it is what it is.
It's required, we were
Yep.
required to have that. So, in my humble opinion, I don't believe, I think we can put it on the meeting agenda at the first meeting next year, and we can talk about this, and talk about the problems that we had with it, whatever, assuming, because, I mean,
Right,
I had issues with cleanup budgets when I first joined. I don't like them. I understand it. I don't like it. I still don't like it. But I don't see the need to have a whole meeting about this if there's nothing we can do, right? Is there anybody who disagrees? Because let's fight now.
I do not disagree.
Okay, all right.
Disagreements here.
Okay, so no extra meeting. And I'm not saying I'm gonna let this go because I'm never gonna let it go. Never. I'm just saying, just
Then we
today.
also
The cleanup budget's
potentially
3
could have
pages.
the presence of
No,
Do-
that whole thing,
city administrator,
that whole thing.
whoever that may be, to divulge where our issues were so that we can do something different for the following year.
That may be.
16 pages.
Okay, so, now, so we're talking about a council meeting where we could potentially suspend the readings, or do we need to have 3 council meetings and just have one at 8, one at 8:15, and one at 8:30?
I'm
Well-
okay with suspending the readings.
Hang on. We don't know. You're the one who said that year might be iffy, and she's a for sure not. So that would be, we wouldn't have 6 people.
Right,
So let's do worst case, and we schedule all 3.
okay, let's do that then. All right.
All we
I
have
like
to
it.
do, we can still
For
cancel.
tomorrow?
Right, well, yes, yes, it's December 28th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
TikTok.
just-
I'm-
Yes.
I'm
It's-
in agreement.
We have to, because otherwise the city shuts down, right? And if I worked for the city and, I didn't get my paycheck and it was because of us 7, I don't know, I might be sitting in front of somebody's house. I would.
council meetings for
Yes, if we need 4 votes and we just need to have 3 meetings, we can schedule 3
I mean,
meetings.
we've done it before.
Yep.
We have, so I'm just saying.
What time are you gonna finish to discuss? Are you planning to get through that tonight?
Well, we need to do this first, because we gotta pass the budget, and we gotta pass the
more pages
cleanup
we got?
ordinance, which, I don't have a cleanup ordinance, I
I'm
just
printing
have
them
the
out right
cleanup.
now.
It's 16 pages long.
I'm printing them out.
Oh, I have this. We have to have a piece of
Right,
legislation.
we have to have the ordinance, right, and we don't
Right,
have the
We need an
ordinance.
ordinance to pass. So,
So can we have the ordinance part of this by tomorrow?
Yes.
And Mr. Hedger had to put an agenda together by tomorrow.
Well, he's not busy.
And we have to have a special meeting announcement in writing. Actually, 3 of them.
yes,
That's why somebody.
let's do 3.
Are they gonna be back to back? We don't need like a 5-minute break between each meeting, or?
Yes, we can do, that's why I said
They
8,
can start,
8:15,
they can start
8:30.
late, they cannot start early.
Right,
Okay, gotcha.
or we can do
So we
8,
can schedule them for 10 minutes.
right, 8, 8:10, 8:20, we can do that,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yep.
It's,
But you see that clock is ticking. If we're on the
Right, that's what I'm like,
the
you gonna do it.
24-hour notice, we got to
Right.
get this.
we gotta get it done, right? So
Yes,
let's- Okay, so 8 o'clock, 8:10, 8:20, are we all good with that?
I can make
Yeah, are you typing it up real
I'm
quick?
not sure if I can make it work. That's what I was saying.
Oh, Okay, but we don't need you though, right? We just need 4. We just need 4.
We just need 4.
We need 4. You got it.
You need 4 to,
Pass the budget. We need 4.
They're trying to have 3 meetings. 'cause
One
they're
at
trying
8
not to
o'clock,
suspend.
one at 8:10, one at 8:20. That way, we don't have to worry about
Do you have an old
suspending.
meeting notice in there that you can?
I can try to find one.
but I thought you guys didn't want
I've written
Okay.
one, like by hand.
We're passing a budget.
Yeah, because they don't have any, it's nothing else to pass. You don't have a temporary budget.
We don't,
Nobody
well, there's no
created a temporary
temporary,
budget.
there's no temporary budget. I'm not writing a temporary
Oh, if
budget.
it's, so you talking 8 o'clock, 8, what is it, 8?
8, 8:10, and 8:20. That's in the event we don't have 6. If we have 6, we can suspend the
Well,
readings
actually,
and,
that makes sense, because even if my son has a game, it's at 4:30.
Right.
Man, we've been talking.
I don't know why you causing me problems. And
Or.
I'm protesting for
Oh.
nothing. I'm so sorry.
you over there causing
let me
problems
call
for
Kyle.
no reason whatsoever.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well,
I'ma
you should've
kick you
told
in.
me.
I'm gonna kick you in your ankle on the way out. That's what I'm saying.
Tracy, do you have any
Okay, I could be
copies
here.
of special meeting notices
I
on
have
there?
written one by hand. I remember it was like,
No, I remember when y'all did it on a fly like this, someone just wrote out something really quick and everybody signed it.
Who has a blank
It was
piece of paper?
It was Matt, because everyone else
It
was
was
like
right because
afraid
none
of
of us
legal
knew.
language.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I think you did one time too.
I think I've done all of them, yeah. All
Okay.
right, and my pink pen, I got it going.
All right, go ahead, sister.
Well, you guys can keep going. I'll write this.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Hang on, no, you have 5 minutes to do it.
I'm trying.
And it has to include, it has to include the agenda. It
Okay.
has to include the 2 pieces of legislation.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
I remember writing these before. All we have
Okay,
to
we're
do-
not fighting about this. Just it's
This
better to
is
have
just-
too much than not
well,
enough.
I
No,
think
I
you're
know,
talking
I'm
about 2
saying I
different
don't need to
things.
include all those. All
The
we need to write-
agenda needs to have that, but what she's doing
Right.
just needs
All
to
I'm
say
doing is
we're
writing
the special meeting.
The special
It's
meeting
the
will be at
special
this
meeting has to
location.
include the purpose.
Right,
Right,
you
to
said it needs an
discuss the
agenda, it
budget,
doesn't need
but I
an
don't need to
agenda.
include the agenda, is what I'm saying.
Not on the,
All right.
Okay.
you need to
Everybody
say
just
what
took-
it's
Everybody
for.
just took that class, but all right.
Right, but the purpose that we're putting
All right.
doesn't have to be the
Don't
agenda.
just put it all in there, please. Just put everything in there. I say put too much in there.
Okay.
Okay. Special meeting. Special meeting, no. Spell it right.
I can't even get into that.
May I ask why she has to have it done in 5 minutes?
Because we have to have it by 8 o'clock,
deadline.
24-hour notice.
No, we have 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
8:05?
Is Ms. Clear?
Can
Clear,
she post
clear
it
on her directions to have it posted by 8 o'clock? That has to be hanging on that door by 8 o'clock.
And on the internet,
I'm writing it, I'm
I-
writing it.
social
be on the
media.
internet.
Social media, I mean,
Okay, you want me to put it on social media? I do what I have to do.
on the city's website.
Who has access?
Ms.
Clerk?
Clear?
And Miss Clear,
She's texting.
She said she already did it.
Well, thank you, Miss Clear. You're the bomb.com.
Look at that.
I can put all
Okay.
3 special meetings in here, like
Yes,
we'll be having
8,
3
8,
special
10,
meetings.
Yes, 8, 8:10, 8:20.
for the purpose of, Ms. Vanderberg,
Yes, ma'am.
will you have the information you think you'll need about that City Health Department and Department 702, that $7,000 item?
Yes, I did send out an email and to Ron, and then I copied all of you.
Oh, okay. So we'll kind of need another daggone budget then with correct numbers in it, and I don't know.
So are you
I can text him.
Mr. Mosby? Okay.
No, I don't know, and if he's already gone, I hate to,
He'll be here tomorrow, though. We can typically work on it till
Yeah.
tomorrow.
I still do have questions about this budget.
I do too.
and I have tons, but
Alright.
my question to you would have been, if we get through this enough, that you could print us off a new copy,
Yes, ma'am.
rather than us trying to play on our phones and our computers that only work half the time.
Ms. Zorb, I have a question for you, since, I mean, just before we kind of,
Yep, we got,
so I had an idea, because the thing that bothers me the most about the budget is the cleanup ordinance. That's what bothers me the most. So what if we discuss this on two levels, not just the one level? So what if we say the activity, is that what it's called, activity level? Right? That's the higher one up,
Yes.
yes.
where there would be a bucket, and then kind of talk about, so just go through and say, this is reasonable, this is not, this is reasonable, this is not, and then change the number, the activity level number. Can we do that?
Yeah. We can do whatever we want.
I know, but I'm just saying, is that something everybody, okay, you're making faces at me, but I'm just saying, I mean, if there's, I mean, because I agree, there's a couple of lines where I'm like, why do you all of a sudden need double what you needed last year? You didn't use what you used last year. I'm in agreement with that, but I think what we should do is just say, okay, you didn't use this, we just gonna take it out, take it out, take it out, take it out, because we still get this,
But when we just tried to, that was the reason I made a face.
I know.
And I don't want to,
no,
we don't have to
come
talk
on.
about it.
No,
But-
we do need to talk about it. Let's
Okay, well,
talk,
the
let's
reason I
talk.
made a face is because when we didn't just use money and they took it out, we fussed about putting it back in. And so it was said, so then, Ms. Anderson said, well, if we're gonna do that, I made the argument that we can just change it as we go. And she said, well, Ms. Zorp said, well, if we do that, we don't wanna have money that, needs to be used and it gets used in another space, so we need to put that money there.
Oh,
And Ms.
okay, all right.
Anderson said.
Okay, maybe,
that-
okay, I'm sorry, I am interrupting you on purpose. I'm sorry, I apologize, okay?
go ahead.
Because I think that nobody is really understanding what I'm saying, but I want to make sure you all understand what I'm saying. So I'm gonna give you an example. Now, Chief Strand, if you're sitting over there watching at the police station, this is, the police is first. That's why I'm saying police, okay? I'm not trying to cut your budget, sir, maybe. So let's just use this as a for example. So we say, I don't like 1974-050.
Print that.
So we're gonna change that to 1.5. Now, and then, he uses the 1.5, right? And then
Sure.
if he's having some kind of issue, he comes to talk to us about it, and we're like, okay, why do you need 1.5 and $100? What's the problem, sir? That's what I'm saying.
Which is what I said as well, but when we are trying
There's
to
a
make those
blanket to cover our
adjustments,
butt.
there are some spaces where we're trying to pull money out because we're feeling like it's unneeded, and then there are other times when they've taken the money out and we're trying to put it back in. So how do you have consistency? Either keep it out every space or put it in every space.
Well, I understand, I actually kind of understand the example I think you're using. It was legislative, and that, in the legislative space, if that's our budget, then nobody should get to control our budget. The seven of us should get to fight about that and control it, right? So nobody gets to take money out of the council budget and do anything with it. Like, that's our stuff, like.
No. I
so
agree
I'm
with
just-
that. I
So
agree.
I think that's, am I wrong here?
No,
Okay,
you're right on.
so I think that's where, I think we're kind of all on the same page, maybe, but I think that instead of like going line by line and asking questions, because I feel like I'm being spun, I don't understand half of this.
December 27th.
I don't understand some of the answers that we're being given, which is fine, I don't have to understand it. But I can change this big number, and we can all agree on the big number, and we can figure it out from there, right?
Yeah.
Like this is your bucket, you gotta make the bucket work, and then that way,
You
I don't
know
know.
that's what they've been asking for all along, so.
I'm just saying, because some of this stuff doesn't make sense to me either. And I don't like the explanations, which, I don't have to like it, whatever. But I think that what we can do is just adjust these buckets so that the buckets make more sense.
When you say adjust the buckets, what do you mean?
Like where it says total department 101. Instead of, because it jumped from 16 or 1.6 million to 1.9 million. How?
But that's what I was saying last time. We needed to, this is the homework that we have to do at home. If you look at when the departments came up and gave their presentations and what they asked for in comparison to what is on the sheet, 9 out of 10 times they got less than what they asked for.
I just sent it to him.
So like, for example, what was it? Fire got $7,000 less. But when we looked at his presentation, council, we agreed with it. Like, oh, okay, this is good. He does a good job at,
Right.
facilitating his budget and staying within budget. He still was under budgeted by $7,000. And so I'm saying to you, those breakdowns from those department heads were given to us.
Right.
I
Okay.
forwarded them on to you all. So it is,
Okay.
then I was saying, when we come back again, you all need to take a look at those and compare them to those buckets, and they match up. I looked, they match up. With most of the time they were shortcut a couple $1,000s here or there.
Well, see, I don't think that they match up though.
Wow.
And I'm sorry. I don't think they match up, and here's why. Because if they matched up, then we wouldn't need this cleanup ordinance. This is the problem I'm having
So
here.
and I agreed, so the cleanup ordinance is when they have come out of those lines. So for example, miscellaneous things come up throughout the year that we didn't expect, both to the negative and to the positive. And what they do, the cleanup ordinance actually shows the actual of how it was spent.
Right.
Versus what was budgeted. So
Okay.
they move those lines fluidly throughout the year, and the
Right.
cleanup budget just tells us, hey, this is what actually happened. The budget tells us this is what we projected. The cleanup budget says this is what we actually did.
Right, okay, so my suggestion is, and I know I'm eating up time, I'm sorry. But what if we look at this big bucket here, right? And obviously, we can't do it today because you're right, there's homework involved, blah, blah, blah. But I think if we just change this bucket number,
Based on the cleanup,
no, not necessarily based on the cleanup, because my problem with the cleanup is that, somebody doesn't like a number, they just move things around during the year.
There's a lot of cleanup.
so
Right.
this is the thing though,
say
at what point,
cleanup.
and the reason I'm a push back here just to council, if that's the position that you're taking. At what point do you allow the department head to say, this is what I need this amount of money? Based
Okay.
on my experience in running the department, because that's what those numbers are based off
I
of.
think that's different though than what she's saying.
Okay, well, maybe I don't understand.
Right, okay.
And some
Maybe
of it
you
is
understand what I'm
history.
saying. Right, okay.
Right, I mean, we've got years of history that kind of predict what their money should be,
Okay,
what their spending should be.
right,
And if they can't stay within that budget, then they would have to come to us and justify why they needed to go beyond that budget. And to me, that justification needs to come way before we get the cleanup budget on December 27th of every
exactly.
year.
Okay, so to that end, I think what we decide is this bigger bucket, right? We decide the bigger bucket. And I'm gonna look at these lines and say, okay, this is how you're planning to spend this bigger bucket. But we don't try to amend the lines, we just amend the bigger bucket and say, I think you can make it do with this number.
But
That way we don't get
Agreed.
this.
I agree with that, 110%. Well, what you're saying, we don't get into the lines. I would actually prefer that we focus on the bigger buckets instead of the lines.
I mean, but we can't just, now, I'm saying that.
We have to understand the lines.
But we have to know what the lines are.
True.
You know, that way, you know, we don't have, you know, willy-nilly stuff going on all over the place.
Absolutely.
But, you know, so we have to get the lines. I'm just saying, instead of going line by line, we go to this big bucket and we, you know, kind of change that number and let them prioritize where their money
And
wants
I'm
to go.
agreeing
Like,
with that
whether
100%.
they want to spend $4,000 on bullets.
And I am agreeing with you on that 100%, even in terms of visualization of the lines and not getting into the minutia of seeing it for accountability's sake and transparency. Yes, I'm not disagreeing with that. What I am saying is the bigger buckets are based on what they requested.
I know, I understand that. Now, I do understand that, but I'm looking, and it's just, the numbers jump too much here. So I think we can probably just,
From the cleanup budget to the 2023 projected budget, so you're saying the numbers jump too much from 2022
no.
cleanup budget?
No, not necessarily. I'm just using this just as a for example. It's not necessarily this, and not necessarily even police necessarily. I think that there's got to be a way to do things where we don't have like this pages and pages of a cleanup ordinance. Like, this cannot be normal. Okay, I'm gonna shut
So
up. I'm
what
sorry.
what are you proposing that we do in terms of who better to tell us how to predict those bigger buckets than the department heads who are running those departments?
So I'm going to be honest, I don't think that that's the issue. I think,
Okay.
because I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and Mr. Mosby said that this is every year that this happens, and I said, well, why does this happen every year, that the department heads or our finance manager is putting the wrong money in the wrong buckets, and then we have to clean it up so much at the end, and I just kind of got a shrug. I think the issue is from the management side. I mean, I don't think there's anything we can do there. I think if we want the department heads to put the money in the right budget in the first place so that we don't have to clean it up later, I think that's where the solution lies. I don't think there's anything we can do other than ask Mr. Mosby to please direct his department heads to put the correct receipts in the correct line items. I think that's how we would fix having a lesser cleanup ordinance next year.
That's my point.
We got our meeting notice posted.
Yes.
I just showed. This is
So
last year's cleanup budget. It's 4 pages long.
Yeah.
This year's 16.
I mean, this is very intense, and I don't believe Mr. Mosby when he says that this is what it's like every year, because I've been on council now 3, maybe 4 years, I don't quite remember. But, I mean, this is not what it's like.
Well, I just proved it with
Yeah, exactly, and Ms. Orb just proved it. So, but either way, I mean, there's nothing we can do about it now. This is where we are. I mean, it's unacceptable for next year. I'm hoping that something will change next year, but.
That's why I'm just kind of trying to make a suggestion about it. That's all. I'm just trying to figure out what we can do. Because there are some lines that I'm kind of confused. I'm like, okay.
We have this kind of,
But I guess
we have this kind of conversation every year over the
I know.
cleanup.
I
And
understand.
it's just,
So
not to that extent, but
Right.
there's frustration in the cleanup budget every year, because this is, forgive me, this is the crap we have to deal with every year, and it's always this last minute, and that's the part that we have to fix. We have to fix the process. This should not be last minute.
But we
This should
actually
be
had some
maintained.
meetings that we had scheduled early on, and other people couldn't come, and we just had to
But there was
cancel.
no cleanup ordinance at that meeting to be available.
Oh, understood.
That's the point, is
Okay,
we're
so-
getting this now.
So maybe instead of, okay, so again, and I know I'm kind of diverting us from, because I feel like we're kind of stuck, right? We've got to pass this budget, we've got to pass the cleanup ordinance, we're kind of stuck. But we're not stuck with it. We can change it at the first meeting next year, right? We can change the budget.
Absolutely.
I think we change the buckets. We have we change the buckets, whatever. and, you know, we study this cleanup ordinance and figure this out, because I'm like,
I guess where I'm confused, because I think this is true and real. If we're having the council meeting tomorrow to approve this budget, we've already, or not to approve, but to vote on this budget.
Watch your words.
Yes, to vote on this budget. That's where we've progressed. And now we're talking about the cleanup budget. We've put that on the first meeting of the
no,
following.
no, no, that's gotta be on tomorrow too, that's gotta be
Yes.
passed.
Yep.
Both of
Okay,
these have to be
But you
passed.
said in order to talk about it, we can talk about it, because there's nothing we're going to be able to do to
Okay,
change it
we
between.
can't change either one of these
Exactly.
documents right now.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. So we can talk about it in the first meeting.
Right, of
the
next year.
Of next year.
Right, I think,
Right, so I feel like the time that we're using right now to talk about how we can administer change forward is well spent, because we cannot undo we have to vote on tomorrow.
right, well, and honestly, that's why I asked the question, because I need some guidance from, I need some guidance from y'all.
so that's
just
why-
to how do we fix it so that we don't have a 16-page cleanup ordinance? There's gotta be,
Madam
it's
Chair.
gotta be a way. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I
No,
just.
no, Madam Chair, go ahead.
Okay, no, but I apologize because I interrupted you.
No, no,
I'm so sorry.
it's fine. We're brainstorming. This is what brainstorming is. I'm sorry. Go
So
ahead.
some councils actually get a monthly report.
Okay,
That's one thing this council has not had. And once you get that, then that you don't get this big, huge, unbelievable, monstrous problem at the end of the year.
Ms. Dewald, can I remind you, though, we agreed on a quarterly report.
Yeah, we did.
We agreed to get away from that monthly report.
I know that too,
Yeah.
but look where it got us.
But you weren't.
Here nor there, I'm just bringing it
Just
to your
saying.
attention that we
So
agreed.
We did talk about if the quarterly report wasn't working,
working.
we could go back. But we weren't eliminating the cleanup budget even at a monthly report.
No.
So
We did.
that's not necessarily the solve to this. What I am confused about in terms of what you're saying is how are you seeing that the cleanup budget dictates in the 2023 budget those bigger buckets for each department?
I don't know yet, because I have to, honestly, I need to compare this one to the last one, I need to look at the notes. I like to, when I kind of makes a suggestion, I don't want to make a suggestion just because, I think that the budget should be $1,000 a year. I want to actually look and figure out, like, wait a minute, that makes no sense to me, so, and then have a healthy discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, about that, and make a decision kind of based on that. That's what I would like to do. But, us, going through the line by line and I don't know if that's how helpful that is, and,
Madam Chair, are you suggesting
Talking
that
about
you're
me
going
or-
to broaden the bucket, or are you going to
Okay.
streamline?
Okay,
You don't know?
I didn't say one way or the other. I didn't,
I was just
Chief
asking.
Strand, I am not talking about cutting your budget, okay? So please, 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 please.
in a panic right now.
I know, he's like, oh my God.
Don't show
It's
up at the
just the
door.
police shows up first. That's why I was using police as where's the camera? I was using police as the example because police is first.
First one on the
Okay?
list.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we're going to streamline or cut or change, amend, any of those things. I'm just saying that there's got to be a better way to do this.
Process has to change.
The process definitely has to
So
change, for sure.
I guess that's where I'm confused, whether streamlining or adding. Because if we look at honestly, Chief Strand did not actually give us a document to look at what his proposed budget is, but the other department heads did deliver us an
Chief
actual.
Strand didn't give us a document? Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So the other department heads actually did give us an actual template to look at
Okay.
why they projected what they projected. He did show up that day and explain what his budget was and why it was what it was, but we didn't actually receive a template.
Okay.
So, with that, that is what those bucket numbers are projected on, plus or minus, based on the administration does their part to kind of streamline whether they feel like this could happen or that happen. We can cut, we can be a little bit more conservative here, or, you know, not so conservative here. And that's how we get those big buckets. And what we live out in the cleanup budget, document, is the actualization of that streamline or lack thereof.
So
that-
my
is that how
suggestion
you-
would be to ask those department heads, where can they cut? If, you know, if that's an option, you know, where
So-
can you cut?
I mean,
So I guess what I'm saying is, Mayor Nichols, are you in agreement with what I see as the process? The department heads are yielding over what they feel like needs to happen in their budgets based on their
That's generally
expertise.
the process.
And
They-
Mr. Mosby and Ms. Vanderberg look that over, and they make projections, either streamlining with another layer of observation in what our city's budget is. And that's how we get those big buckets on the actual projected budget for the following year. The cleanup is the actualization of what happened throughout that year. So there are two ways to actually kind of help hone in on better projections for those buckets. And it could be that we receive cleanup sort of actualization sooner than just at the end of the year. Maybe that is what you can present quarterly.
Right.
So that they can be more defined, so that there is not 16 pages of cleanup.
Or even on a 6-month interval.
Or
If you're
even
asking
6
for
month.
a monthly, quarterly report, you'll still have those numbers, because those in that quarterly report will say we spent $5
And I'll-
on copy paper
And I'll
in
also
each
bring-
department. And then if you do a half a year cleanup ordinance, which would be 2 quarters.
I don't think
If you-
that's exactly what the cleanup ordinance is. I mean, the cleanup ordinance, so let's say Brian Fells spends $3 on something and he puts a receipt in line 1, but it actually should be coming out of line 2. I thought the cleanup ordinance was to fix where each money's coming out of and with each line.
I think that's just a part of it, though. The other
Right.
part of it is, when they spent less money or more money.
So it's a
Right.
combination. It's an
Yes.
Right,
appropriation.
it's a combination of both,
of-
but I don't think that the bigger issue is them spending more or less money. Or is
It's
it?
not the issue, but it's a mirror. It shows you what happens. I appropriated $5, or not me, but whomever council appropriated $50 in ammunition, and they only spent 25, or they went over. Where did that money come from to compensate for the extra 25, or what did they use it on? And it should show the ending balance. So it's like the check and balance. What I spent versus what was appropriated, what we didn't spend, and what your carryover is. So it's just a combination of, technically, it's the true actual numbers
Right.
of what was spent and what wasn't spent, where it was spent, where it wasn't spent. You can over appropriate and you can under appropriate, just depending on the trends and what happens and how. And we know everything now. Eggs is $5, depending on where you go. So
So if the best way that I can describe it is, it's 2020, hindsight is 2020. You know exactly what has happened throughout that year by looking back on that year.
Guys, this is really great conversation, but we've got more to talk about. And
Okay.
now we've really got a deadline, because we got to get this done tonight.
Okay, all right, let's keep
Sorry.
going.
I hate to be the
No, it's
stickler in
fine.
the
I
room.
I get frustrated because I feel like I don't like feeling helpless when, we have questions and, like, there's nothing we can really do about it. Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry, I'm taking notes.
Sorry, I gotta get back to the,
Next
okay,
question.
we're on, are we going back to the 2023 budget?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. We are on Mayor's Court, and that's Department 703. If there are no more questions in legislative, which was 702, which I thought we had finalized that, we had sent Mr. Mosby an email about the line ending in 408 that you were talking about, Ms. Zorb. And then I was asking if there were any more questions and to move on to 703. And I stopped and said, hey, why don't we pause there and go on to our next meeting? So I think we're at 703 Mayor's Court. 704 Finance.
my question can wait till later. Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
706.
Hang on, I thought she was still out there. So in 704, and I'm just curious about the computer software. So I know the whole conversion from CMI to UAN. So it just looks like, I thought we had to pay for both in 2023, and yet there's almost a $10,000 decrease. So I guess I'm confused about how that washes out. Can you please elaborate on that?
I did receive one invoice from CMI, which was like $3,300, I believe, thereabout.
And that's annual?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the UAN is, I think it was about $3,500 from the invoice that I received, that I was given as part of my welcome packet.
Okay. So in theory, then, for the year 2023, we should pay for the CMI and the UAN. But in 2024, that should drop down to just the 3,200 for UAN.
Yes.
Is that the way, is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we had to pay for CMI, since we're having an audit this year, we need the history.
Sure. I understand. I just wanted to make sure I saw the full picture. Thank you so much.
Thank you. 706, Law Director. Go ahead.
The law director's contract, is that that was just for 1 year, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you think, yeah, I think it was for 1 year, right?
He's on the salary ordinance.
But
we signed a contract, right, this last year? We did, right?
It's the
think so.
salary ordinance.
yeah.
I didn't know that it
We
ended,
did do
though.
the salary ordinance, but we also,
Because remember, we don't do
Right.
contracts, an employment agreement.
employment agreement, okay, employment agreement. But it's only for 1 year, right?
Well,
It's
I
on
guess
this-
it would get rediscussed during the salary ordinance.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
But that is one year to the next.
Okay. All right.
750, income tax.
So I do have some questions here. I just need a better understanding. So I see we have the $85,000 that we pay Rita, which I get it.
I don't.
They take a percentage of whatever income, like if whatever income they collect, they take a percentage off the top for doing that work.
Okay, I have a question about that, because you know I don't like Rita, but it's okay. I'll abstain from the voting, but I'm gonna say my say, Rita. So, were we paying that nice little lady who used to sit in that office right there and take money from people to pay their taxes when they?
$85,000?
Were we paying her $85,000 a year?
Ma'am.
I think not. I think that that's something we should consider. I think we should get rid of Rita, and I will abstain from the voting.
Madam Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm not the chair, go ahead.
whoever
Just-
wants to answer that, Madam Chair. I have to agree with Ms. Underwood, because I think the only advantage we get from Rita is that they do hunt down those that are in the rears or are not paying.
Oh, yeah, they hunt
There is software.
Hunt you down for sure.
I know
Oh, yeah.
Mount Healthy did this because I know the girl that did the job. And she was one single person. She did it for the whole city of Mount Healthy, and she got quite the revenue by staying on top of it and using the software program the way it's meant to be used. And I think that was some of the issues that we had. The software, they were not familiar with it and didn't use it to its fullest advantage. So, yeah,
Right.
if we could get someone that knows that system
Right.
and.
And I bet you we wouldn't have to pay them $85,000
And you
a
put that
year.
one smiling face in
Right.
that little building over there.
And
they're just gonna be
encourage
happy
people
as
to come
punch.
in and say, listen, if you owe this, just come and give us $50 a month. I bet you we would make more money than we
yeah.
make with Rita. I
Yeah.
bet you we would. I'm just saying.
So, can we add that to an agenda? Because what I would like to see is the reporting, just, I don't know, in a couple months or something. But what I'd like to see the reporting of how much money we brought in with, and then how much money without Rita.
Can you-
and what that revenue looks like.
Yeah, do you mind just shooting me an email so that that jogs me when I'm doing the agenda?
I will.
I'll send it to you
But-
right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the other questions that I have are then kind of a downward spiral from that. So if we have Rita, then I guess I'm concerned why we have postage and why we have equipment repair and why we have professional development and why we have
I think we should get rid of
printing
Rita.
and reproduction and why we have office supplies, because I would think,
I think we should keep
that's
the other
Rita.
stuff.
I'm
We
sorry?
keep the smaller numbers and get rid of Rita. Rita is the problem. And
Because
again,
we
I'll
still-
abstain from the voting.
We still mail out letters to the people that we collect from that are delinquent. So some of that is the office supplies from buying the stamps and going out to the postage machine. And if that postage machine breaks, those fees are allocated throughout the departments that use it to repair it. So, I mean, it's pretty minimal as far as the,
There was a small number of residents who was on a plan who were being proactive in their plan, so they weren't turned over to Rita, and they still pay here, and I guess assume that they still send out their notices and everything from here. There was a small number.
And again, the lady who moved from here down to the police or whatever, wherever to the mayor's court, who figured out how to collect more fees, why can't we have her be the collector of the money from people and the taxes with the software? It seems to
Need to keep
me,
them separate, it's two different departments.
I mean, I understand, but maybe she could do that.
Or maybe she could train somebody else out
Or
there and then come
right,
over here.
and come here, because it seems to me like we would make more that way, because that would be a better way to do things. Like, people just, if you just have somebody call them like, hey, you didn't make your payment, and you're gonna come in and make it, and I don't know, I just remember the little old lady used to sit, maybe she wasn't an old lady, I apologize. Oh my goodness. There was a lady who was in
Shannon Holman.
this room right here. And I used to come in there and I would, I used to come and see her on a regular, I
You
would.
can't, I didn't even
And-
do my taxes. I'd walk in with my W-2 and my
Right,
checkbook,
right, exactly.
and she would do it all.
And she filled it out and just
She
the
do it all.
nicest, she did.
Yeah.
And that
The
and-
spoiled
and-
council members.
Right, absolutely.
It wasn't,
And-
I mean, there was a
I'm just-
long line of people that
and
did the
there
same
was-
way I did.
But it was better for the
new
community,
to
I
the
think,
city tax
than
stuff,
having,
but
this gangster company filing lawsuits against people, I think. That's
We
just
have a lot
me.
happier residents out there.
Very
get
happier
that service.
residents.
I agree with you.
We can't give them a swimming pool, but by golly, we'll give them a splash park and a tax department. That's what
And
we'll do.
I will definitely put that on the agenda.
Yes.
All right.
So do
Okay.
we have any more questions about the tax department and those subsequent lines with those small amounts there? She just let us know what those are. Okay? Department miscellaneous, and it is $7.99. Who's FICA? Department 201, Service Department.
So I do have some questions here too.
Okay.
So when it comes to their uniforms, they get $9,000 worth of uniforms every year?
I'm sorry, are we on Department 799?
No, we're on the service
201.
department,
I'm sorry.
201.
The service department, I believe they change uniforms probably every day for as filthy as they get out on the street. But Cintas is here, and that's who our service provider is.
So this is a cleaning service?
It
This
is.
isn't buying new uniforms?
Correct.
Sorry. Okay.
Any other in the service department?
Yes, hold
They
on.
get this much money just to wash clothes?
Sometimes it's expensive.
They're expensive.
Okay, all right, so. Okay. All right.
You gonna wash them?
No, I'm not gonna wash them, but I mean, we have a dry cleaner that's in North College Hill who can wash them, right?
Heck, we could buy a washing machine.
And put it
And a
in the
dryer.
back or something. I mean, I'm not trying to wash clothes or hire somebody to wash clothes, but
Wait, where
we
are
have
we
a
looking?
dry
I'm sorry.
cleaner that's right there in North College
Service
Hill.
department.
And I gotta think, I mean, we could support one of our businesses in our city,
And they
right?
do a remarkable
And
job.
they do a great job. I'm just saying, that's a lot of money. And all they're doing is washing clothes.
Can we look into a contract with them for that?
We can, the difference with the Cintas, they provide the clothes too. So it says, you know, the blue shirts they have that say North College Hill and their name on them, they're provided through Cintas. So we would have to go through Galls or somebody else and buy uniforms for them.
So it is uniforms and the service.
I still think that we can beat that number, or we could at least compare the two numbers. I can't imagine that, you know, it's gonna cost $200,000. I don't see that many people working in North College Hill.
Whoa, what?
Also, on top of that,
9,000.
She was just,
Where am I? Okay, I'm looking at the wrong number, right?
I think you might
I know what
be.
you meant.
even, so I have even if we go with a different,
$9,180.
Oh, okay, I was,
even if we
okay.
go with a different cleaner, does that mean that we
Okay.
can no longer get our clothes from them? I mean, we can still get our clothes from them,
Yep.
but just go to a different cleaner,
What?
right?
I would imagine so. That would
But
just
every
be a
time
call
you
we'd
have-
have to
it
make to
comes with
Cintas.
Okay.
So just, I'm not for or against. I'm just gonna put this as an information on the table.
Okay.
So Cintas has contracts.
Right.
Built in their contracts is
Okay, I
services
see.
like
All right.
the uniform, the
Right.
name tag, the hemming, the sizing,
Right.
Okay.
all of that.
Repair,
And so if-
probably.
repair, the goods, you know, all of that, the cleaning. So when you start breaking up those contracts and you get this, then you know that how that changes the prices.
yes.
So if we're going to shift, we gotta shift all of it.
Right.
Okay, scratch what I was saying, because I thought it was a completely different number. I'm serious, I am so sorry, I know.
No, but I
tired.
still like the idea of, I mean,
Of,
supporting a local business
right.
instead
I
of
know,
a.
but I thought it was a way bigger number. That's
you
why I
say
was
that out
was just
loud.
like,
I do.
But now you got me fired up, so I'm here for it.
I was like, wow.
That's something we should invest in if it's gonna save us
I was
money.
like, we spend that much money on uniforms? What?
And I was thinking like, well, 9,000.
All right, I'm going to move on.
No,
So I see a line that says equipment maintenance, and it has $8,000 in it, and then
That's
there's
my next.
equipment repair and replacement. So what,
Can you
and that
say
one's
the
got
line?
25, it's right underneath it.
I know, can you say the first one?
Yep. 201.201.523.210.
I believe the equipment maintenance for the 8160, that's for all the small tools and handheld items that they use, whether it's, you know, the lawnmowers, the weed whackers, if they need replaced or repaired, it comes out of that. And then the equipment repair and replacement, those are for the vehicles.
There's a different
there-
line for vehicles.
There's fuel and oil.
Madam
It's right
Chair.
above it. Vehicle repair and maintenance is $8,160. It's just above it, or below it. They're all right there in a bundle together. There's equipment maintenance, vehicle repair and maintenance, and equipment repair and replacement.
The vehicle would be for the Ford 250s. The equipment repair and maintenance would be for the heavy equipment.
like the dump trucks, the salt truck.
Wait, you just said the opposite.
Yep.
Earlier you said that the equipment maintenance is for the smaller things.
Well,
but
for the
then-
smaller, like handheld tools.
Yes, that's what she said that.
Well, wait, then you just said that it's for the larger tools.
No, she's
No, that's
saying
what-
the vehicles, like the
There's
cars.
a very small difference in the verbiage on the two, and that's kind of where
She's
so
saying three
one-
departments.
the one in equipment maintenance that ends in 210,
Yep,
that's the handheld tools.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
The one that ends in 510,
yep.
that's for the large stuff like
Okay,
the pickup truck.
got it. My bad, sorry.
Yep.
Why can't we put large tools and small tools? I'm just,
Layman's terms.
right, like, I don't know, right.
Chair.
Just so that
Yeah.
I can ask this question. Because I need to know.
Mary Jo needs a purpose.
Go ahead, Ms.
so-
D-Wall, I'm sorry. She asked for, go ahead, were you not finished?
I am not finished.
Okay.
So, at line 201, 523, 516, traffic light maintenance. So I know these were all just upgraded. So do they have to be upgraded every year?
I don't know. They probably do, they probably rotate them, is what I would guess.
It's like fire hydrants. I mean, they need some level of maintenance.
Maybe you do
I don't think they
three
do.
streets and then 3 streets.
These are for the
Traffic
traffic
lights.
lights.
Right, they adjust them, they get off track timing. I know that for sure. I've seen them out there
But
adjusting them.
but that's my point, is that's what we just paid $12,000 for last year.
I thought you said we paid $12,000 for new ones. And you said, do they need to be maintained every year? And I'm saying yes.
Okay. I don't think they do, but we'll move on.
Who can answer that question?
Mr. Mosby, who's not here.
Okay.
Can you shoot Mr. Mosby an email with that one so he can follow up with that as well, please?
Yes, ma'am.
So we can get assurance.
So-
If I could, if not every year, at least every other year, I know council has asked that the lights be checked, or someone can go out and check the timing. I do know that it's happened at least the past 2 years. So maybe that's part of why that's in that line item.
And then I'm not solving it because, of course, I don't have that, which is why I'm asking her to reach out to Mr. Mosby. But I have been watching other cities' council and their budget stuff just so I can kind of connect with some areas where I'm not. And I know that sometimes they do certain number of maintenance on, like, because it's impossible to do every single one every year. So they do some this year and then some that year. I don't know if we break it up like that or not, but I do know other cities do that.
So can you tell me what the debt service is for? What are we buying there? What did we buy?
Madam Chair,
Let's see.
Yes.
I believe that debt service, aren't we still paying for this building back here for the service department?
We wouldn't only be paying $27,000 a year for it.
That number's been consistent for a long, long time.
Yeah, it only went up a
Fluctuates
little
some,
bit.
Can we confirm that instead of us
Yes.
speculating? Please?
Debt services is definitely a loan, though. That's what it
Right.
is. Mhm. So I can imagine it being anything else. Okay, anything else there?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't know if Ms. Sorb got to this line item, but it's 201-201-523-510. Did you get to that one, Ms. Sorb?
Say it to me slower.
Yes,
Okay,
she did.
okay. Because the budget that we're not supposed to look at anymore actually had a reference of a year-to-date expense. And that's what this budget that we're looking at, that we're working from, doesn't have that information, so it makes it a little difficult. But according to that one from the September, we had only spent on that 523-510 line item, $4,356. The actual spent in 2021 was $5,000. So like I said, right now, we're at 4,300, and with only a few days left of the year. So I'm wondering why $25,000 is even on that line.
That's I'm sorry, just for clarity, that's 201, 201, 5,
23510.
yeah. For her sake.
But see, if you don't, because we don't have that history on this one that we're supposed to work from, you don't see that.
Well, there was a spending of 25,000 in, you see it in the previous year? I got, try to go back up.
Right,
I
and
don't-
it was budgeted 25,000 for the year
Right.
2022.
But we didn't spend that.
But what we spent in, and right now for 2022, we've, according to the one that has those expenses on it, we've only spent $4,356.
Will you read me the line item one more time, because I'll
Yes.
look at it in our cleanup ordinance and see if
I've already got it. I found it.
201,
smart.
201.
Never mind, she's already got it.
Okay. So what do you see in the cleanup?
523,510, right?
Yeah, what do you see in the cleanup ordinance on that?
There's $19,000 extra in it
Yeah,
that we
So-
didn't, that wasn't used.
Do you understand what you should, I mean, I'm not trying to,
Direct.
yes, I'm just trying to make sure that we have a clear, concise question so that a clear, concise answer can return. Do you understand what they're asking?
so
Yes.
may I present the question?
Yes.
Okay, so in 2021, we actually spent $5,000. In 2022, we budgeted $25,000. And as of the year to date, it's $4,356.
And in the cleanup budget, it's 5,100.
So now it's 5,100. So, let me look that
So
up.
of the 25,000, we've spent 5.
So,
Correct.
this is just I hear the question, I think it's great. Let's get the answer to that. But this is back to Ms. Underwood's suggestion. On the areas where there's an overprojection, you are wanting to take them out. And then when there's an underprojection, I agree that no one should tell council how to spend the money budgeted to council, but you're going both ways on it. And so I'm suggesting that if we are going to go through that forward, that we ask for consistency. So if if there's not money that we're spending in buckets, then what I'm hopeful that we would agree to do is to say, take it all out. Or put it all in. Because on one hand, if it's money unspent, we can't say, take it out because it wasn't spent, and then in another breath say, we'll put it in because we might want to spend it.
So, Madam Chair, I just wanted to tell, I did not say take it out.
No, I know, you're
You
just
You
asking.
said that, though, and
No,
when
no.
you started with your intro, you said, we want to take it out. I did not
No,
say
what
that.
I said was, the question you have is fine, and I established that we're going to go forward to get the clarity, but I referenced when we had previously talked with Ms. Underwood.
Right. And so I just want some clarity here, because I don't want us to go down a rabbit hole. So as an example, I don't want us to use council's budget as the example. So let's, because that's a unique and
Okay.
strange thing.
Yes.
So we can't, because,
Agreed.
Because
Yeah.
we're in total control of our budget. You were right on
well,
that.
we're.
So all I'm
we
saying
should be,
is,
we're not, though.
why can't we identify why it's $25,000? Why can't we identify why we
Well,
need that much
goes
money?
back to my point, like, they don't need that much money, we can just take it out. Okay, next question.
So, then in this same service department, 201-201-523-821. It looks like it might be other street incidentals.
Wait, 523-821,
It's right about in the middle.
okay, I
The
see.
title, it
Other
says other
street
street incident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that's abbreviated for incidentals. Do
Yes,
you
it's-
have any idea what those incidentals would be?
If I could get into the CMI, I could tell you exactly what they were for. But unfortunately, I can't get my VPN to work, so
Okay,
I will highlight that one and I will get an answer to that as well.
okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're very welcome.
Any more?
Do you know when as soon as she'll have those from the questions that they asked tonight to them?
Well, I am emailing those along and copying them to Mr. Mosby too, and then first thing in tomorrow morning, I'll,
So they'll have
Get
them
ahold of
before
them.
their meeting tomorrow?
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
It's first on my list.
Any more? Okay, in lieu of time, I know you said you gotta go, right? Ms. Vanderberg?
I do. I'm sorry, we only are working with one car right now, so it's a little sketchy.
And I don't know what we'll be able to address without her.
Well, let's just we're almost to the end, right? What's questions? What's the next question?
Okay,
I'm at the end of my questions.
Okay.
Oh, okay. What about
so
you?
we're at 204 seniors. I'll just run through real quick and then.
Whoa, see, okay, see, now I'm causing problems. Okay, see, what is, senior citizens, what is that number? 56,640, what is that for?
That's what we estimate we're getting in from the state, the revenue.
It's blue.
From the levy
You
money.
can't see it because your paper's black and white, but the number on our thing is blue.
Oh, okay. So how much is it gonna cost? We don't have that in the budget, like how much it's gonna cost? Did we okay, let me take a step back. Did we actually buy the building?
So, go ahead, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry.
We're on a senior.
Yes.
I had a conversation with him today. We will acquire the building. We're
Him
just,
who?
Mr. Mosby.
So can I shed some light on this? Because I asked this question a couple weeks ago. I can tell you the answer I got. So Mr. Mosby said that the reason that they put that into the budget, like the 56,000, was because that's what they assume that they're getting from the levy. But once we know what we're gonna need to actually run it, he's prepared to change that number and to add more or less or whatever we need for it. But he said that he doesn't want to change that number because we don't know what we're gonna need yet, because they haven't been able to like get into the building, because they haven't been able to get the building yet. Like, we haven't been able to do, what are they called, inspections or anything to see what needs to be updated. And then we also don't know, like, what it will entail for positions there for, so that is why that is what the number is in there. That is the
Also
answer
talk-
I was given a couple months ago.
And to
Worms.
piggyback on that, he also
Worms
said
all over
something
the
about
table. Worms. Okay, I'm sorry,
What'd she
piggyback.
say?
What'd you say?
She said worms all over the table. Basically, she opened up a can of worms.
Yeah,
And so what he also talked about, I think you asked a question about the
Yep.
furniture and
Yep.
stuff like that. So we don't know what that is.
we don't know what when you, because we don't know what they're gonna take. We don't know what they've already given away.
We will inquire what's in the building. I do know
Right,
that.
but they've already sold like the bingo board. So we,
So I was told that what was in the building, that the city would acquire that. I was told that today.
but that's based on what is in the building, not like, but they've already sold the bingo board, so the bingo board
So
won't
it should be
in the
gone.
Right.
building. Right, but we don't know what is in the building.
So whatever's in the building,
So
I know,
I
but
was told we are going to acquire whatever's in the building.
I know, but what
You're
I'm,
all saying the same thing.
yeah, what I'm saying is we
So-
don't know what's in the building.
Who has the key to the building?
We have to finish acquiring the property before we
Right.
can enter it.
Okay, right. So we haven't acquired the
right.
property yet.
Correct.
Okay, that was my
We're
question.
still waiting
All right.
on the legislation,
We're doing what?
waiting on the legislation.
I thought we passed it.
No,
We
to
passed to be able to be,
to move
to
forward.
move forward.
Oh, Lord, okay.
Madam Chair,
yes.
if I recall Mr. Mosey's conversation that night, they did have an inspection on the building, and they do know that there's tables and chairs in there. So the rest of it is a shell. I'm sure the office furniture is gone. I shouldn't be sure of that. I should just not talk about that.
Can I
So,
interrupt you? I'm sorry.
Can we just move on? Really isn't pertinent to what we need to talk
Well,
about
but this
tonight.
is because the resolution that we did pass is to purchase the real estate. It wasn't to move forward, it was to purchase it for $1. That's what the legislation was.
And so we still have to finalize it. I know there were some more details.
But we're not waiting on legislation, right?
From what I was told, we are still waiting on a piece of legislation from Mr. Dieters.
Okay. I believe you. I just am curious of what that piece of
I'm-
legislation
Yeah, I'm
will
not,
be.
Right.
you understand my frustration is not with
I do.
you.
Right, it's not with you.
I understand.
I just,
Can I
It's like-
just stay on that legislation tone for a second? Ms. Kirsten, have you, by any chance, asked Mr. Dieters for the legislation for the cleanup budget, for the cleanup ordinance for tomorrow? We'll have to have that by tomorrow night.
No, I have not.
So that will be a fire for him to create that immediately. I don't know who's going to ask him for it.
Nose goes.
Just want to point that out.
Yep, nope, I agree.
okay, and
One year, you all.
do we have any more questions? I know,
Oh, okay, let's go. Let's just make sure. Senior citizen, 207 FEMA winter emergency, 208 court computer, 209 CARES relief fund. And then, so fire department, 211. Department that has no name. Can we fix that? Under, right underneath the fire department, I think the name got removed.
Forfeiture.
Forfeitures and restricted funds.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. You got it, where it's at? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. 220, emergency project.
It's energy, but yes.
What?
it's energy.
emergency.
Oh, I can't see it. I'm only reading I'm only reading how the version is on my phone, and it's super tiny. So sorry. Department 230, waste collection. Department 240, We Thrive grant. 250, American Rescue Plan. 301, police levy fund. 302, fire levy fund. 401, street levy. 401, street levy.
Why are there
402.
two 401 street levies?
I think the second one is the specific streets.
Yep, if you look underneath there, they have the streets listed.
Right, so do we need to, because there's no money in that, and I know that, so do we need to have money in there, or do we need to have the streets that we're doing this year in there? So for instance, I know we were told that we're doing Loran and Dordine, so do we need to have Loran and Dordine in there?
We do.
We do need to have it, or we do have them in there?
I generally don't recall them being specifically in the budget because they'll come back and, well, then you add the different years. It's just a matter of the legislation that you'll pass. When they send us the note to say this is the street that we're gonna do, this is where the funding is at.
So we
So
have
when
to-
you say it needs to go in there, what are you referring to?
I didn't know if you wanted to see the wash where, Ohio OPWC sends us the money and then, or we send it to them and they pay out the bill.
I'm confused. I don't understand. So we need to have it in there, or it is already in there?
Do we need
It is not in
a
there.
specific line item that says Loran? Like, as in, there's a specific line item that says Bake, and there's one that says J-Mar, and there's one that says Clovernook, and there's one that says Carroll.
Do we need to have one that
We
says
need to have
Loran?
one that says Loran, because that's the street that we're doing this year, and whatever, and Prospect Place, and whatever other ones we're doing.
For the ones that I've seen that, since I've been here, there have not been any names
Okay.
here under Department 401 street levy.
Could we ask Ron? Could that be another?
Yeah, because J-Mar in Devonwood was just done recently.
Yeah.
Dallas was just done recently.
So
I mean, those are
What I-
very, those are,
Clovernook
those
was
are,
just done
those are
recently.
recent streets.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did Mayor answer that by saying that we do that per the legislation and add it then? Is that what you said, or no?
They can go on.
So we'll just have to,
Huh?
We'll just have to wait for the legislation to come saying when they're gonna do it for us to add those line items, is what you're saying.
That's what I thought she
Because
said.
Mr.
That's
Mosby
what I was
mentioned
asking her.
that $1.1 million grant that we got for others, that's for Galbraith, the west side of Galbraith. So, we just got the email that
Today?
that grant was approved, so that's not in there either. So, but that's a grant.
Right, okay. So put a pin in that until we hear back from Mr. Mosby? All right,
I would, depending on, because if I'm looking at the document that I'm looking at, it doesn't show it for the other previous years.
right, yeah,
It
because it
just
doesn't even
goes-
show for 2021.
Right.
Or 2022, it's only showing it for 2020.
Okay.
Okay, street levy twice. Department storm water access 502. The end.
City Center Fund. in
City
there,
Center,
too.
yeah, City
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
City Sitter Fund.
I don't have any questions on it. I just
40
wanted to skip it.
$7.3 million.
402 and 502. All hearts and minds
Be
clear.
a smart aleck.
1.1. If we want to.
I don't have any questions.
And then fine to get those questions back from them
Oh,
tomorrow.
yeah, once we get those back. Other than those ones that we already asked.
Okay, thank you for staying.
Absolutely.
So then tomorrow, are we ready? So we have to be ready to send this to council, basically, because tomorrow we,
Tomorrow night's a council meeting, so
Tomorrow is the council
that we
meeting.
can vote.
I know, so we're saying that we're ready to send this to council?
No, tomorrow is the council meeting.
But hang on, there is a formality first.
Oh, okay, I see. Oh, yes, oh, I see.
Yes, because we're in
Yes.
committee. We need to
We're-
send
we
this
need
to
send it to
council.
I got
So
it.
that way tomorrow we
Yes.
can read and vote on it.
Yes, so we're all agreeing that we're sending it to council
Yes.
tomorrow.
And then are we sending because tomorrow on our agenda for our 3 meetings is also the first, second, third reading of the cleanup ordinance.
Yes.
Are we ready to send that to council without seeing the actual ordinance?
Yes,
And then we'll just send it back if we don't get the ordinance. I mean, if we don't have the ordinance, we don't have it, you know? Okay, so we're ready to send both the budget, sorry, I'm taking over your job.
I see you.
But we're going for it. So we're sending both to council is what we're saying?
yes.
Got it.
And then I will send Mr. Mosby and Mr. Dieters the email asking for the legislation.
And
I may-
understand, and
I
can you
may
be
know a
really
lawyer.
crystal
And
clear
they-
in the timeline that they would
Always
need that?
have. in the
Crystal clear, but I
past.
will definitely make sure that I'm crystal clear.
I might, because I know I've heard Mr. Dieters say a couple of times, don't communicate via email, so I would follow up with a text.
And I
And a
have been
call.
doing that also. Well,
Okay.
I've not called, but I have been, whenever I send it, I'll follow up with a text.
Thank you for doing that.
So with that being said, thank you very much for this meeting, and we will, I'll pass it back to Erica.
And we will adjourn. It is 8:50.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye.
Thank you.